welcome to our fan episode for White Fragility. This is the episode where we find out what the fans think. One of the things we posted on our book club, not on all of our social media, but we have a private Facebook book club. And we posted, Lilly Singh did a video that was things that white people have said to me, which was really funny, but also like brutal. Anyway, so we got 2 comments from that. One was someone just wrote so good. And then another person didn't write on the group, but shared it. And on her personal page, she wrote, she wrote, I'm guilty of some of these. I don't know, did you see that, Squiggy? Lilly Singh, the first part of it, she did a whole bunch of things where, you know, white people said these things to her, like, you know, I've been to Delhi and
where are you from? No, but where are your parents from?
I know someone named Singh. Is that your brother? And yeah, and all these things, right? Like, are you having you have arranged marriage, or can you like pick someone? Or anyway, so and then she did the reverse. If she was going to be someone saying that to white people, and it was like, oh, Smith, I know that someone named Smith. Are you related to them? And they're like, no. And you're like, oh, you're I don't know. It was just funny.
Did you have to marry somebody of your own choosing?
Right. Did you have? Yeah, it was like.
Or something like that.
She also said something about the weddings. And like people are like, oh, I've been to one of your weddings before.
Wasn't she touching one of them? She was like, can I touch you? Like, wasn't there like a whole.
It was so funny. But like,
she nailed it.
She really, really nailed it. And so I think that's another way. Like, I was just thinking how people thought it was so good and lots of people saw it and some people shared it. And I think that it's because putting it that way and also in making it funny makes people realize, oh shit, I've done that and I didn't even know that I was being offensive, right? I was just, you know, one of the things she said, she's spicy. She's, do you want this? Do you want extra spice? You like it spicy, right? And then her reverse was like, you want it bland, right? The blander, the better, right? Like just stuff like that. Like, anyway.
Comedy, I think, sometimes makes it easier to digest some of these things a little bit. And I think that's, well, we all found that the more we talked about it, it was easier to kind of laugh at each other and ourselves as we're learning, being like, oh man, that's crazy. And so it kind of, it makes it a little bit lighter.
Definitely and like the first episode we filmed, we're all like, we're so nervous. How do we say something? And like somebody said something first and we're all like, oh my God, and now we're just like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're saying. We're talking about it. So as Twiggy said, you know, the more you talk about it, the more you're comfortable talking about it. And the whole point of the video being shared is that the more that we talk about it and we share the information, the more hopefully other people do. And then it, you know, snowballs, which is great.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that particular clip, but there's variations of that. And then I've had people ask, well, then how do I approach this if I do want to ask those questions? If I am curious about your history and your lineage and what have you. And the best way, I'm still trying to work out the details of this metaphor, but for me, it's almost like, are you treating me as if I'm an exhibit in a zoo, or are you treating me as a person? There's a balance of like fact finding and wanting to read the little placard about a person of color, or is this a conversation that organically led to a point where I'm talking about my parents and where they came from and stuff like that? So the zoo exhibit is what is rude, but talking to someone about their history or where they're from is not in itself inherently rude.
It's making the assumptions, right? Like assuming that you fit. Sometimes people like, it's like, you like it spicy and you're like, well, you already have preconceptions about me. It's the difference between like learning who I am as a person and coming to the table, wanting to know if I tick all the boxes, right? You're like, do you really like khakis? Check, you're good. Or whatever, I don't know. I don't know.
That's great.
And also if it's like the focus of your conversation with them every time. You know what I mean? I think that's a thing that...
And if it's fetishized, or if it's interest.
Someone's like, there's more to me than all these preconceptions. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. I think I've done that to a number of long Uber drives, if I'm honest. That's real hard to say out loud, but I've definitely done that. Just like, that is one occasion where I tend to meet a lot of people, not a lot, like I don't take a lot of Ubers, but people of color, and at the risk of, well, I'm just really uncomfortable right now. But yeah, I always have that conversation with them because I'm just sure I'm interested, but it also just seems like genuinely, I'm always really impressed with anyone who changes countries. And I can tell, but I shouldn't assume that just because they have an accent. I do that.
And that's the thing, like, just to compound
I'm just an
just to
asshole.
compound your uncomfortableness even more,
lay it
just
on
to
me.
give it a thought, is imagine how many times that person has had that conversation.
Oh
I was
God.
just thinking that too. I was just thinking that too.
My
I was
life.
like, oh.
What's wrong with me?
Every day
They just
I
like
think someone
record
else-
their
Oh.
answers and
Yeah.
they put
Plays the
like, they
recording.
they play the recording like,
Yeah.
let me get this for you. Click,
Yeah.
turn it on, and like, here's all
Yeah.
your questions answered. If you want to talk about
that
anything
probably
else,
goes
I'm
in there.
here.
Like anyone who's been like a server knows that like you have your spiel, like your same go-to spiel. You do it every table, and it's just like you probably should just have it on a recording. Yeah, that's.
And while you feel guilty about that, thinking of how many conversations he's had also tells you about the culture and the systematic racism that we have, that it's not necessarily your fault or you're being malicious or you're actively choosing to be these things. This is just a pattern within our society. So now that you recognize it, you can be like, okay, I can break that pattern and just start with general stuff and see where the conversation goes organically with what you're up to today.
Yeah, like I wouldn't do that with. I honestly, I don't even think this is how fucking. Let's just say it. I don't know if I would do that with. I don't know the right word to use, but like someone with an accent who is white. I don't know if I would, like maybe like a Polish or Russian accent. I don't know if I would. It's really bad when I think about it. And I just think about it, I'm just being friendly, but after listening to that, I'm like, fuck, that's terrible.
Well, at least
There's
you're
also one
thinking
thing-
about it, because next time
I ain't
And
gonna
there's
say
also one
shit.
thing.
I ain't even gonna be blind. I'm
just
gonna
gonna
lose
stay
my star
there.
rating over this, y'all. My stars are gonna drop.
Just keep stumbling
I'm a
forward, Leah.
5-star. I can't lose my star rating.
Another point, Leah, is that the reason that clip that Lilly Singh did was funny and that she created it is because it happens all the time. Do you mean like if it wasn't something that was
feel better?
it's that uncomfortable funny. Like it's one of those like funny, awkward where you're like, oh no. If you're making a joke, like obviously that's not okay. And that's why that
Totally.
person was like, I've done this because I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it didn't happen a lot,
thanks for
then
boosting me
it
back
wouldn't
up,
be
y'all.
spread around. Like people wouldn't share it if it wasn't something that happened a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Right? If people couldn't relate.
But that's the point, like it makes that all of these little things make people aware, right? Like it's all these little things like bringing down another blinder, right? Like, oh, well, there's another one. And that's another point, right? But that we've been making, it's like a stumble forward. So you don't know what you don't know. So now you know. So,
Stumbling all over the place today.
Well, we had that big conversation about
concussion.
About hair, and we had that in our kind of texting about hair, and I admitted that I had a friend who was Black who I worked with, and I always talked about her hair all the time, every day. Be like, oh, I like your hair, about all these things, and I was like, oh, I thought I was being nice by saying that. And then I watched the documentary Good Hair by, who does that, Sarah? Good Hair? Chris Rock. And I was like, oh my God, like I didn't realize that I shouldn't be doing that. And so I learned that lesson, but I still make mistakes all the time. Like I was saying to Sarah, her daughter, I probably touch her hair and I don't even think about it. And so it's like, I think that we all make mistakes of things that we just didn't, that we need to learn. And as we keep stumbling forward, I'm just going to try to keep learning these things, and I'll make the mistakes and hopefully I learn from them, and, and hopefully we grow. And I think that's what the book's about too, right? Is realizing all of these things and then going, okay, well, let's take the next steps and the next steps and the next steps.
Yeah, it's kind of like we've just gotten more curious about ourselves by not just going ahead and doing something without question or trying to view what we're doing. That this book really did help us to start to question what are our automatics.
It all comes down to anything that has to do with self-improvement or growing requires mindfulness. That's what it comes down to, is mindfulness. And like, there's so many things that we do automatically in life. And if you want to improve or change your behavior, you have to think harder. I don't know. You have to think about what you're doing.
Question it. Why am I doing that?
Book interrupted. Here's my interruption. It's morning and I'm trying to get ready for work and I don't know what to wear. And I feel like that every single day. I have lots of clothes, but none of them, it's like, how do you have a closet full of clothes and not want to wear any of them, but also not want to donate any of them? Do I wear them? I feel like I essentially wear the same 4 outfits every, obviously 4 days on rotation, but I have much more than 4 outfits. I really wish that I could be more decisive in my wardrobe. Book interrupted.
We have one last comment we can bring, but I think it's a troll, so I didn't respond. But it was on YouTube, and it was from our White Fragility episode 2, racism in the education system. And the person wrote, "What the fuck is this? This has to be satire, right?" But then I immediately wanted to be like, no, this is, and then I was like, oh, no, I think it's a troll. This is just going to engage me in some sort of like whatever, because, and I was like, I doubt that they watched it. Then if they watched it, they would know it's not satire. Anyway, so then I didn't engage, but that's what we got on YouTube. But that was the only really response. But I think they were trying to
That's sad that that's the only response we got.
I know, fishing for me. Yeah.
But again, because people feel more comfortable with the one-on-one conversations. That brings me to writing Down the Rabbit Hole, the Sunday blog series. It took a lot more out of me, I guess. It took a lot more for me because it all comes down to intention and effect. And so, words are so important, and the words you choose are important. I truly believe that, the choice of your words can convey different messages, whether you want it to or not. And so there was a lot of writes and rewrites and read overs, because I was trying to get across kind of what I was thinking and what I got from this book. And I mean, I'm sure you all agree, when you're having these conversations with people, private conversations, it's sometimes hard to find the words to express what you're trying to say. Like right now, I'm having trouble expressing how I want to say this, but picking the words that are the most effective at expressing your intention without getting an undesirable effect.
Writing with those emotions and those thoughts just do get easier in practice. So I personally journal for years and years and years, and it's only really until this last year that I've been putting my writing publicly online in my social media posts. But I've been complimented on my way of words, but those ways of words had been practiced for a long, long time. Now, these concepts and these ideas, they haven't been, but it does get easier writing with vulnerability, writing with emotion, or even just conversing and talking. I'm definitely far better coming onto this podcast now than I would have been a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Intention versus impact. As long as the words are coming from a really honest place, it's a really safe point to start from. That's where the most frustration comes, when you find big corporations joining in anti-racism or joining in pride, and you're like, this just doesn't feel honest.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
When somebody is stumbling forward with honesty, as like you did for that 30 seconds there, you stumbled forward, but it's coming from a place of honesty that you're expressing this vulnerability.
I do find it inspiring when I read other people's words where they are vulnerable. And so I like that you said that, because I was trying to be vulnerable in the writings, because I think I feel inspired when people can be vulnerable and show me and the world how being vulnerable, it's not the worst thing in the world. You need to be vulnerable to grow. It's hard, but it is easier. The more vulnerable you allow yourself to be, the easier it is. And you
slippery slope. It's
you
a slippery slope. You're crying in public. You're eating shit on camera.
Oh, I'm crying so much more. It's gonna be weird when I'm in public, or I'm gonna be at work, and I'm just gonna start crying more and more.
I think because you're a male, it'll be so endearing. Well, maybe not. Maybe if you work amongst mostly men, hopefully you're surrounded by a bunch of women, because there's nothing that I feel like I don't want to speak for 50% of the population, but when a boy cries, let's go. He's like, come here, come on, bring it in. Like, we're gonna be best friends. I love it.
Yeah, vulnerability is a great trick to get girls.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being, I know this is not about me, but thanks for being gentle with me when I was being really fucking brutally honest. And especially you, Squeaky, because you don't even know me really, like in real life. And, it's potentially, harmful for maybe, I hope I didn't wound anyone too deeply today, but thanks for being kind to me.
No, and the thing is, you're right, I don't know you, but I could tell that you're worth my energy. You're a battle worth fighting for. And that's not a battle that I need to go like toe to toe with you, but I can still share what knowledge I do have, or at least, again, going back to the cheesy thing about energy, I want to share my energy with you, because you're choosing to do something about it. And it's hard, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. But I'd rather spend my time talking to you than dealing with a troll or trying to change the mind of a Trump supporter or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
And thank you, Squiggy, again for coming on and being our first fan of Book Interrupted. And for coming back on to talk about our fans and to assess how we've been doing. So thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
On Book Interrupted.